All right, DJI Osmo Pocket 3. I just took it to Jordan. Let's get into it.
Tell me that's not sick, bro.
Dude, that's pretty dope.
So last month before I took off to the Middle East, 2 days before, I stopped in at Best Buy and picked up this guy. It was the only one in stock, so I had to pick it up, and I couldn't get the creator combo. I couldn't buy ND filters. I couldn't get the wide angle adapter. So I was second guessing my purchase. But boy, am I happy that I grabbed it. If you follow this channel, you know that I like to try and make things look cinematic. And in the back of my head, I was like, how am I gonna do this without an ND filter? So after a little bit of thought, I realized that if I wanted cinematic looking footage with the log and the 10-bit, I needed to do it at sunrise and sunset. And for this trip, we were with a bunch of photographers who wanted to be up for that anyways. And we were clearly catching every sunset too. So yes, I do have a lot of log footage to show you with proper shutter angle and motion blur, but in the desert, in the middle of the day, I just switched it to automatic mode, and you'll also see some footage that's straight out of camera, and the wrong shutter angle might look a little bit choppy to the trained eye, but honestly, it still turned out unreal. Lastly, before we jump into the pros and cons of this camera, I wanted to let you know that in the description, you can download some video links and photo links. I also have some like raw photos for you to try and edit, and also log footage as well. All right, so what do I love about this camera? Well, the list is pretty long, so bear with me. Number one, bigger sensor means better background separation and depth of field. So I absolutely love that. And I'll share some footage from the hot air balloon that I got when I was really close to subjects. And then you saw like a really nice background blur from this. So I absolutely love that about this camera. Number two, the screen is insane. So I was in the hot desert for 4 straight days and the sun was beating down, and you'd think that you'd be like frustrated and you wouldn't be able to see the screen, but it was plenty bright enough that I was able to even review footage when I was in like the back of a truck just driving, and so that was pretty amazing. Secondly, this screen rotates as well, so you could go to portrait orientation or landscape just with like a quick flick of the finger. So I really find that cool about this camera as well, and it's just designed so intuitively that it's just like it feels good to do. Number three, let's talk about the obvious, which is this camera has a gimbal built in. And when I travel this year, I went to Indonesia and Jordan, and a lot of my friends, 3 or 4 friends, would pack gimbals with them for their mirrorless camera. And obviously there's a time and place for that, but for a run and gun setup, which is kind of like this, it's actually amazing to have like proper stabilization on a solid camera like this is. And we were in like the back of trucks, like Toyota pickup trucks in the desert, super shaky, ups and down, bumps and bruises, and I could just kind of like hold it out the back of the tailgate and get like really smooth footage. So for time and place, gimbal is absolutely necessary. Number 4, if you're enjoying this video, feel free to give it a like because it goes a really long way in helping my channel. Thank you so much, and let's dive back in. Sorry, that wasn't really a pro, but number 5 is, so the sensor size and low light performance of this camera is pretty incredible. I shot a vlog in Amsterdam on my layover to Jordan. If you want to check that out, I'll put it in the link here. But overall, this camera is pretty good in low light because of that increased sensor size. Number 6 is the motorized functionality of this camera. So when you power it on, that gimbal just whips around for you. When you power it down, it tucks in like a turtle shell, which is really cool. And then you have this second layer of protection as well with the case that it comes with. And that might not seem like that big of a deal, but this camera is pretty fragile, and we'll talk about that in the cons. Next up, the battery life of this camera was amazing. I was worried because I couldn't get the creator combo and I wouldn't have the extra batteries with it, but it's so simple to just travel with a portable charger, use the USB-C and plug it in, throw it in my camera bag and not worry about it. It's always charged up, ready for me. And even if I was stuck without a portable charger, this thing would last me the majority of the day. And last but not least, I'd be remiss if I didn't talk about like the size and portability of this camera, because it is amazing quality. It truly is in a mid-tier league of its own, and for you to get that in just something that fits in your pocket is pretty darn cool. All right, so what's not so great about this camera? I do have a bit of a list, and some of the stuff is nitpicky, so bear with me as we go through it. A lot of them are not deal breakers, but just things that you should be informed about before going and purchasing it. So number 1, there's no mic or headphone jack, so that means you're stuck to the DJI proprietary Microphones. I did read though that the DJI Mic 1s actually work with this as well, so I just ordered those and I'll be testing them really soon. Number 2, pricey but kind of worth it. So in Canada it was 719 Canadian dollars and then 800 with taxes. I talked to my buddy about this and he's like, dude, that's a lot of money. But you got to remember, it's a built-in lens. For all that it does, it's actually a really good value for someone who's actually going to use the thing. But if you're just adding it to your kit for fun, use sparingly once in a while, I can understand that, yeah, it's a little pricey. And with that, you do need to buy ND filters and things like that as well. Number 3, we talked about how good the screen was, but there is a downside, and that's the touch functionality a little bit. I noticed specifically with swiping, but again, it wasn't a deal breaker, not the end of the world, something that can be improved going forward. Number 4, low light performance. Yes, it's a massive improvement, but I noticed this with my drones as well in DJI products, is sometimes in low light it can get muddy looking, so not really sharp like my A7 IV would be, and I can't expect much from what it actually is, but it does get muddy in low light sometimes. Number 5, it's not really available, and that's in Canada anyways. I know it just came out, it's the holiday season, but even the accessories and stuff, if I want to pick up ND filters for this thing, I need to go third party. That's kind of annoying. The wide angle adapter, all those kinds of things, it's just not quite readily available yet. There is a bit of a shortage where I'm from anyway. Number 6, I still need to keep my GoPro because this thing is not really weatherproof. I can't really trust it in like harsh conditions, and that's not what this camera is designed for, don't get me wrong, but you just have to be mindful of that. You're not buying like an action cam when you pick this thing up. And the nature of having like a motorized gimbal attached to your camera, there are more things that could go wrong. Last but not least, at the bottom of this camera is a little extender, and it allows for like a 1/4-20 to go in the bottom so you can do your tripod and everything like that. It's also like a battery grip. I think you can plug in extra batteries and have longer battery life with that, so that's kind of cool. But at the end of the day, it'd be really cool if I could just like unclip this thing, because like the actual size of this camera is like so nice. I would love it if I didn't need that extender. Again, that's a little nitpicky. All right, so should you pick this camera up? I think if you're gonna use it in your workflow, it's an amazing value, and especially for video. Photographers, I think you can miss this one, but if you're primarily video and you wanna learn how to shoot manual and just have like a small compact rig, or you wanna try gimbal moves and start getting into that because you wanna upgrade eventually to your mirrorless, it's a really good starter gimbal to just kind of like learn how that operates. Anyways, thank you so much for stopping by the channel. Let me know what you think of the photo and video links that I've provided and what you think about this camera. We'll talk very soon. Matty out. Peace.